Welcome to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Isn't it weird that Jeff Bezos has put up almost 100, I think over 99 Amazon facilities, massive facilities, in over 30 states in the United States, affecting over 32.5 million square feet of land and resources. And he's not using the facilities. They're all left empty. Why is that? And at first, when I first started thinking about it, I thought maybe it's some tax thing. He's saving money somehow in taxes. I don't know. But honestly, the more I think about it, the less I think it's that, and the more I think it's something else. And who knows? I mean, why? Why? I'm not trying to make anything up. I'm just asking questions. I really don't know. Are these like pieces of prime locations for something? Like, who knows? I mean, look at the map. I just don't know. But why would you put these massive things up and not use them? We have some in Connecticut and Massachusetts. They're huge and they've been empty for years. They're giant and they're massive. What is going on? How can you just put these massive buildings up and do nothing with them? I don't get it. If anyone has any answers, I want to hear them.
I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on this one, and I have no way of knowing if this theory is correct or not. But think about this. When you have tax liabilities, the most effective way to get rid of those liabilities is through company losses. What if he's using these buildings as a way to say that the company lost money, putting up buildings that bring in zero profit? So that lowers his tax requirement. And now he's sitting on 99 properties that are probably worth several $1,000,000 a piece that he could just sell if he hits hard times. There could be some completely obvious reason that he's doing this, and I'm just not picking up on it, but this is what it looks like to me.
This one gets weird. This is the San Galgano Abbey in Tuscany, and inside it is the actual sword in the stone. That is right, it is real. The University of Pavia has carbon dated the sword to the mid-1100s, which fits perfectly. Radar revealed the full sword, and it sits inside here, underneath that plastic case. The penetrator of this rock was none other than Golgano Guidotti, a Catholic saint. The knights of the time then used this story to integrate the legend of Odin, Anthony Hopkins, into the culture under the church's nose. So Guidotti created this King Arthur story to tell that story. Here's where it starts to get weird. Arthur comes from Arctur, a very huge star that is aligned with the Arctic Circle. In Norse mythology, the ice giants created a network of hinges to open the door for their people to live. But at the time, the earth had barely any ice and was ruled by snakes. The homeland of the giants was Hyperborea. We learn from the Greeks is the dead center of the Arctic Circle. Mr. Guidotti was a knight, and he loved his worldly pleasures. But the Lord gave him a vision and said the only way he's going to get to heaven is if he renounces those. He replies, until my sword goes through the stone like butter, I'm not doing that. So the sword goes through the stone like butter, and he becomes a monk. But the knights typically expose the dark side of the church. That's why they're executed. The real sword is here, stuck in the obelisk from Egypt.
I had no idea that that was the story. I tried looking it up to see if this sword has ever been removed from the stone, but Google is so flooded with articles and videos of the sword in the stone at Disneyland that you can't find any good information on it. Apparently, though, from the information that I could dig up, they've had a pretty significant problem with people trying to steal this thing in the past. So I'm assuming it can be removed, or at least the people trying to steal it think it can be removed. I just want to know if the sword is actually fused with the atoms in the rock, or if there's just a hollow cavity beneath it that it slides down into. If it's fused into the rock, how would they explain that? Hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com.
My name is Dan Willis. I was in the United States Navy. I held a top secret crypto level 14 extra sensitive material handling security clearance. I worked in the code room at the Naval Communication Station in San Francisco. In 1969, I received a priority message from a ship near Alaska that was classified as secret. The ship reported merging out of the ocean near port bow a brightly glowing reddish-orange elliptical object, approximately 70 feet in diameter, emerged out of the water, shot into space, traveling at about 7,000 miles per hour. This was tracked on ship's radar and substantiated. Years later, I worked at the Naval Electronic Engineering Center in San Diego for 13 years. The co-worker who I worked with worked at the NORAD facility. When he first started working at the facility, he noticed objects going on the screens that track everything out in space and in the air, objects going off the scale, doing right-angle turns. When he inquired, his older supervisor advised him that, quote, it was just a visit from one of our little friends. He thought this was a little unusual. These statements are true. I'm willing to testify under oath before Congress. Thank you.
This was recorded at a press conference for the National Press Club in 2001. The guy that's talking there is Dan Willis, and he's still pretty active in the transparency movement today. He's still doing interviews and podcasts and stuff after all this time. And from the few clips that I watched of him, the guy's doing a pretty good job of keeping his story straight. I've heard 100 times or more that we've never captured anything moving in or out of our atmosphere. I'm convinced at this point that that's just a lie to back up the narrative that they want us to accept. This guy has been making this claim since 2001 about a craft he witnessed leave our atmosphere in 1969. It is interesting how he talks about that thing coming up out of the water, though. And we've seen report after report after report of people claiming that they witnessed these crafts flying up out of the lakes and the oceans. I think it's pretty obvious at this point why we stopped exploring the oceans.
Pay attention. We're about to show you how you can get free electricity from a tree, just for educational purposes only. Let's get into the video.
Started to grow moringa trees a while ago for food, as you can see. So one day when I was climbing the tree, it had an injury like this one here. And I was climbing it and I felt like an electric shock, almost like an electric fence, you know, from an elephant fence or a cattle fence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so really. So I had the idea, I called my electrician and we measured, and in fact we could measure a current in the tree. Here, please, Fundi. You have to go in the flesh of the tree, and immediately now, that you see, I'm not joking, this tree is currently delivering 25 volts DC. So one day, Fundi and me, we took our electrical wire, so just an electrical wire, round our tree, nicely, like that, tight. Yeah, it helps if before you put your wire, you really scratch the skin of the tree, and it helps if you keep a distance between your wires. You see the scar in the tree? Yeah. Where the tree have those scars, that's where they produce the most of power, categorically. Yeah? So that is where you can get up to 280 volt, even AC. But lunchtime, when it requires full sun. Electrical connectors. Now we should be able to measure the current, or we can run a light bulb or a grinder, which we are going to do for you in a second. Okay? So now, of course, I have both wires on. So here, careful. You see that? This is now 220 volt DC. You can check here, there is no wires going to the tree or whatsoever. Even before we figured that in the day we can run a grinder and in the night we can run a light bulb. All our security lights here in our shop, everything here runs off these trees. Now we connect the angle grinder. Here, please connect it for me. So, now you can see it is 2 o'clock lunchtime, bright sunlight. Yeah? So, we will see if we get now an angle grinder to run. Yeah. Now here, oh, this is now serious power, guys. Yeah, this is serious power. Light on. You can charge batteries and you can charge phones. Sign up. Everyone can charge their phones here for free. Yeah. From the power of the tree. That is from mornings 9 o'clock till about 6 in the evening when the sunset.
This is one of those videos that looks legit, but something about it feels off. I think this guy is taking a known phenomenon and exaggerating its effects. I think it's pretty much common knowledge at this point that trees have electrical energy in them. Pretty much everything does. However, according to what I could find online, they can only produce about 200 millivolts, which is the equivalent of 1,000th of a volt. That doesn't sound like it's going to power your angle grinder. I guess the best way to figure out if this one's true or not is to just go test it out. I'm not going to do it though. So if any of you test this out and actually get some results from it, do me a favor and post a video of it over in the Discord and I'll add it to one of my daily uploads.
My name is Maxwell Sambulani Chikumbutso. God has given me something that is going to change the world.
The world told him it was impossible. Scientists scoffed, corporations dismissed him, and even his own life was threatened. But Maxwell Chikumbutso, a high school dropout from Zimbabwe, refused to be silenced. Let's take a closer look at some of his most remarkable inventions and how they can positively impact the entire continent and the world at large. The wireless self-powered television. Chikumbutso once showcased a television set that does not require external power.
So this is the first television in the world that uses self-power to say. It is all in one. You don't need to put it on electricity or on solar panel or anything. As it is a complete solution. Behind the television, you can see that there is a microsonic energy device, this box. This is the device that is converting radio frequencies into pure energy. As you can see, the power of the cable was supposed to be here. On all traditional televisions, power comes here, but there's no power, as you can see. The television is working as it is. So in layman, I think this television is we can call it a self-powered television.
Next, we have the green power off-grid machine. This is another groundbreaking invention by Maxwell that generates electricity using the same microsonic principle.
What we're looking at is called the green power off-grid machine. It is 0.5 megawatts, and we are relying with the radio frequency. Behind this radio frequency converted into pure energy that is useful.
Now let's talk about the self-sustaining racing motorbike. Alongside the Cadiz scythe, Chikumbutso introduced a high-performance racing motorbike that also runs on microsonic energy. This motorbike does not need fuel or recharging and has been designed for both racing and commercial use. Currently, there is no official price release for the racing bike, but its affordable production cost means it could become widely accessible in Africa and beyond. Now, let's look at the elephant in the room, the self-powered electric car, the Cadiz scythe. The Cadiz scythe, developed in partnership with Chinese automaker Cadiz, is a testament to Maxwell's ingenuity. While the specifics of his microsonic energy technology remain undisclosed due to some concerns, the car's potential is undeniable. These cars boast several remarkable features that set them apart from conventional electric vehicles. Perhaps the most revolutionary is its unlimited driving range. Unlike traditional electric cars that rely on charging stations and have limited mileage before needing a recharge, the Cadiz scythe continuously powers itself using Chikumbutso's proprietary microsonic energy technology. This eliminates the range anxiety that plagues many electric vehicle owners and makes long-distance travel a seamless possibility. Adding another layer of practicality, the Cadiz scythe features a home power supply capability. Similar to Tesla's Powerwall technology, the car can act as a backup power source for a household, in the event of a power outage, or even as a regular supplement to a home's energy needs.
We've talked about this guy on the channel before, back when the video of that self-powered TV was going viral. I thought for sure this guy wasn't going to be around much longer, that he was going to end up in a newspaper headline with some mysterious self-inflicted ending. I feel like this guy is just discovering things that are being intentionally hidden from us. I have been discussing pulling energy from the ether for over a decade, and I'm just some dude from Kentucky. Is it seriously even possible that someone who has the knowledge and the resources to investigate this has just never thought of it before? Is it really possible that none of this stuff's ever been looked into until this one guy came along? I have no doubts they already know about this stuff. They just don't want us to have access to an energy supply that they can't charge us for.
I'd actually never heard about any of the odd edifices and symbolism to be found at the Hoover Dam until I actually happened to visit there myself about 3 years ago and saw the two giant angel statues and the star map and zodiac made out of stonework on the ground. I instantly knew it was something I was going to have to go home and look into some more. The elements of Freemasonic symbolism, the idea of there being some sort of false flag attack planned, how the destruction of the dam appears to be portrayed on one of the U.S. bills, and things like the fact that the shape of the dam is almost identical to the throne that Madonna sat on in her infamous Illuminati Super Bowl performance. there where it shows Alcyone of the constellation Pleiades. On the movie Pixels, there's a somewhat random line from someone mentioning the, quote, pyramid hidden under the Hoover Dam. And then, of course, there's the movie Transformers showing the Allspark being hidden in a secret facility under the dam. But okay, a Stargate. What does that even really mean? Especially if we're not talking about the sort of, ancient aliens type technological device we're talking about Stargates here in the context of witchcraft and the occult. And honestly, it's kind of interesting to me that in none of the other videos or posts I've read on the occult New World Order connections to Hoover Dam, I've yet to see any of them that have explored the occult connections to the specific star featured on the Hoover Dam star map. First of all, it's interesting to note that there actually is an Alcyone Lodge, and this other guy, Ledbetter, were somehow led by their spirit guides to select this kid, basically, a 14-year-old Brahmin from India named Jiddu Krishnamurti, as the next Maitreya or Messiah of the New Age. And this guy, Krishnamurti, went by the name of, you guessed it, Alcyone. And he wrote a book called At the Feet of the Master, which he openly claimed were not his own words, but the words of the master who taught him. Now, when examining the monument erected to supposedly commemorate the men who died in the construction of Hoover Dam, many people have spent a lot of time trying to tease out esoteric meaning from the rather Egyptian-looking figure there, and what perhaps is being represented by the water and the sun and everything else. And it's real easy to get lost in the minutia of all that, but that type of message from the whole basic theme of sacrifice itself in the inscription. But when you step back and just look at everything that was chosen to be incorporated into a memorial, then it's really just bizarre. Is the context and the concept through which I believe that the Hoover Dam and all the weird occult imagery and references to stars and angels and weird-looking portal designs in the floors and everything else makes the most sense to be interpreted through. Not in the sense that it's some secret doomsday machine or interdimensional portal device, although it is a machine. I mean, it's a functioning hydroelectric dam. It's an altar. A massive monolith dedicated to the star god Alcyone. And hidden in plain sight. I mean, it's crawling with oblivious tourists, just like so many other sites which are built and dedicated as memorials, even little Illuminati monument sacrifice that was performed in that place.
I've always wondered, when they build these massive structures and incorporate all of this clearly occult symbolism and imagery and stuff, why does no one ever ask the designer why he incorporated all this garbage? I'm sure that the records exist showing who mapped this thing out before they started building it. Why do we have all these theories and no definitive answers? Why are these people not being questioned? At the very least, we should be able to ask why our tax dollars are being utilized to honor false gods and entities. I feel like that's a reasonable question to ask. And just a side note, this thing was constructed during the Great Depression, when the country was going through a hardship it had never experienced before, and yet they still set aside the funds to incorporate all this nonsense. Clearly, the incorporation of this stuff was very important to someone who was very important.
This Hindu woman reveals the truth about practicing yoga and the spiritual dangers that are involved with it. Check this out.
So could you quickly explain to people that don't know that do yoga why they shouldn't and what it is?
Yeah, yoga is kind of a meditation. You sit in a certain posture to invite a certain spirit realm. You think you are just exercising your body, but it's actually the tantra to go with it. Certain hand gestures mean certain goddess like fire god or water god or whatever god they are inviting in. Many yoga classes, they ask you to make certain faces. Those faces really represent those goddesses. You are really entertaining the Hindu goddesses. Another thing, the word meditation I mentioned, yoga teaches you to meditate and empty yourself, less empty yourself, less empty yourself. And the whole idea of empty yourself is because the Hindu worshippers, they don't understand what demonic realm is. They are still in the darkness. You leave it empty for the demonic realm to walk into your life, and you don't even notice, and you end up getting sucked into so many different things.
Well, there you have it. The truth about yoga from a Hindu, which is where that practice comes from. Each yoga posture is to invite a specific spirit, and the specific sounds that you're told to make while in these postures coincide with the summoning of these specific spirits. Even the hand gestures that you make in yoga, these hand gestures are to invite specific spirits, the god of fire, the god of water, so on and so forth. This doesn't take any deep research to figure out. A simple Google search will prove this. These are different yoga mantras that you can Google. This one here, Om Namah Shiva, it says dedicated to Lord Shiva, representing peace and inner power. This mantra is literally inviting and invoking this Lord Shiva, which is a Hindu god. This is what you are opening yourself up to when you practice yoga. Yes, it has become normalized. Yes, it has become a common social practice. And though it seems so innocent and harmless, it's not. Like this woman says, why do you think it teaches you to empty yourself? You're emptying yourself to invite something else in. And these Hindu gods are just demons in disguise. So in reality, you're inviting demons into your soul. And people may say, well, I don't do it for that reason. I just do it to relax. I just do it for peace of mind. I just do it for calm and health. But it doesn't matter the reason that you're doing it. That doesn't nullify what it truly is. And that's not going to make you immune to the dangerous effects of practicing it. That's like me eating fast food every day and telling myself, well, I'm not eating this fast food to get unhealthy or to gain weight. I'm just eating it because it tastes good. It doesn't matter why I'm personally doing it. It's still going to result in the same effect because the nature of the thing itself.
Got into the practice of yoga and I was like, this is great. The physical benefits benefited me right away. I could hoop better. I could jump again. I was lasting in the basketball court longer than the people my age. And I was like, my athleticism kept itself. So I started practicing yoga just at gyms. And then someone said, hey, go to a private studio. Well, once I went to the private yoga studio, you really start learning about the actual ancient science of yoga. Like yoga is to yoke. Yes. Essentially, you can't separate Hinduism from yoga and you can't separate yoga from Hinduism. In short, all the positions in yoga are worship positions of Hindu deities. So all those years, you're bowing down and giving yourself up to these different lords and these different gods. And I'm not going to say their names right now because thank you to the Lord, I keep them at my footstool these days. So that had me already open, accepting, free, floating around, especially in Los Angeles. Like it's normal culture out here.
So if you're practicing yoga, regardless to why you're doing it, this is what you're actually participating in. Do your research and pray about it and ask God to open your eyes to the truth.
I can't believe that. I've tried yoga before and I just didn't like it. It wasn't my thing. Standing in a contorted position for 2 minutes and trying to not focus on how bad it's hurting your limbs just didn't click with me. I couldn't believe this when I heard it though, but it makes perfect sense. This is one of those that should have been obvious on its face. When you do yoga in an actual yoga studio, it feels like a spiritual experience, and they lean into that concept. They don't try to hide that they intend for this to be a spiritual experience for you, and I feel like anything that's marketed as a spiritual experience should be looked at with caution. I will absolutely stay away from yoga now, though. I have zero interest in inviting Hindu demons into my body.
I saw an amazing video. Brian, you're going to love this.
I'm excited.
I had this friend of mine, I hadn't seen him in years. We used to agree on everything. And we just ran into each other on the street recently, and a completely different person. He's on a completely different algorithm, I tell you. No, it's weird. I ran into this guy. We used to agree on everything. We start talking about the Tartarian Empire, okay? But all these beautiful buildings we see down here, they weren't built by us. They were built by a hidden civilization that we don't know about. And then the mud floods came, and we wouldn't even know about this ancient civilization if you're nodding your head here. Yeah. We wouldn't know about any of this unless Admiral Larry Bird had gone to Antarctica and went over the ice wall and talked to the reptilian overlords from the planet Nibiru. And we find out about the Tartarian, all this stuff, right? And I'm talking to my buddy, and and he doesn't know about any of this. That's the thing. Like, the guy's a idiot.
Oh my gosh, like, obviously he's watching the videos that we're making.
Yes, this is kind of hilarious, actually. That is very fascinating. I'm curious if other people would think what he just said was even funny, or if they'd be like, what's he talking about? Oh, that's weird. Ah, like, are you laughing because it's actually funny? Or are you laughing because get what he's saying? Have you heard some of that before?
No, that's a good point, because the Larry Bird joke would not be funny unless they heard of Admiral Byrd.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be funny to joke about the Taurian Empire and the mud flood unless they've heard about it, because they would just be really confused by the joke.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree.
It must be big enough where he thought this joke would hit.
That's a really good point. In order for him to even attempt to tell these jokes, he would have to assume that these topics were at least somewhat common knowledge, and the audience seemed to be reacting the way you would expect them to react if the jokes landed. It seemed like they knew what he was referencing. That's wild. Are there really that many people waking up to this stuff? I'm not gonna lie, that kind of makes me feel a little bit more hope for humanity. I would like to point out, I find it hilarious that these guys see this clip and immediately assume that Tom Green must watch their content, like they're the only people on the internet talking about Tartaria, while at the same time pointing out that the general public seems to be aware of it. Are they also assuming that all these people in Tom Green's audience must also watch their content? I just thought that was funny. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com. And don't forget to leave a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But with all that out of the way, I hope everyone's having a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.